You're listening to Women's Media Center Live with Robin Morgan.
Welcome to Women's Media Center Live. I am Robin Morgan, and we are back. You know, it's fascinating how much changes and how much stays exactly the same. Although New York State, thanks to Governor Cuomo in the spring, is almost virus-free now, the rest of the United States writhes in anguish over rising numbers of deaths, cases, confusion, chaos. Trump rants and raves as usual, more demented than ever and more toxic. His buddy bro Putin is busy poisoning political rivals with nerve gas, suppressing the democratic uprising in Belarus, and trying to sabotage our elections as usual. Michigan actually was awarded $600 million for the victims of Flint's lead-tainted water, but I wonder how much of that is actually going to get to the families who need it. In the good news department, though, Roman Polanski lost his bid for Academy reinstatement in Hollywood. Jerry Falwell, Jr. has been fired from Liberty University, and this nation has seen an uprising of people peacefully demonstrating for Black Lives Matter and for other sensible causes, all toward preparation for this November's election. It has also, tragically, seen a backlash of white supremacist terrorism, egged on by Trump. Which brings me to today's program. We're going to try something different and, I think, interesting in these weeks before and after the election. We're going to set aside the wide coverage approach for now and dive into one story for the whole program, guest and all, when I have one. I do today, to my great pleasure, Representative Carolyn B. Maloney of New York, who's also the chair of the House Oversight Committee. She's been holding hearings into the debacle that is the attempted destruction of our post office. She'll bring us up to date on the latest that Congress is doing to save the USPS and to save our mail-in ballots, crucial in the age of the pandemic. As for the rest of the show, I wager you're going to learn things about the post office you never imagined, and I think you'll be delighted you did. So let's get started by going deep inside the headlines. The Postal Service is the nation's second largest civilian employer, after Walmart. That's another story. As of 2019, it employed 633,108 personnel, divided into offices, processing centers, and actual post offices. The United States Postal Service would rank 44th on the 2019 Fortune 500 list if it was considered a private company, which it decidedly is not. On the contrary, it is the only government agency mandated as a service. It's not the postal industry or the postal business, after all. As a government agency, it has a legal obligation to provide all the various aspects of universal service. It also has special privileges, including sovereign immunity, eminent domain powers, powers to negotiate postal treaties with foreign nations, and an exclusive legal right to deliver first-class and third-class mail. Labor unions representing USPS employees include the American Postal Workers Union, the National Association of Letter Carriers, the National Rural Service and Letter Carriers Association, and the National Postal Mail Handlers Union. The Postal Inspection Service, USPIS, is one of the oldest law enforcement agencies in the nation. Founded by Benjamin Franklin during the Second Continental Congress in August 1775, its mission is to protect the Postal Service, its employees, and its customers from crime, and to protect the nation's mail system from criminal misuse. Yes, Benjamin Franklin was the first U.S. Postmaster General. This is the one government agency specified in the United States Constitution, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 7. Quote, "The U.S. Congress has the power to establish post offices and post roads." Close quote. That is, designated mail routes. All of this, as was made clear in letters between the founders, was to, quote, "bind the nation together" and, quote, "facilitate citizen inclusion." That's a far cry from Charles Koch and Donald Trump. Charles Koch, you say? Ah, yes, as in the billionaire right-wing Koch brothers. Now, Lisa Graves is one of the nation's foremost experts on how special interest groups distort our political system. She served at the Department of Justice, the U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee. She's an adjunct law professor at George Washington University Law School, and she's testified as an expert witness in both houses of Congress. Her recent report, called "The Billionaire Behind Efforts to Kill the U.S. Postal Service," was published by In the Public Interest, ITPI, exposes how Charles Koch marked the U.S. Postal Service for privatization as early as the 1970s and is still using the Koch empire to push his political agenda. That's way before competition from email or FedEx or Amazon. In the piece, Graves delineates how Koch became the main funder for the Libertarian Party in the 1970s, and how one of its planks was expressly to abolish the U.S. Postal Service. In the 1980s, the Libertarians pushed for that via an unprecedented privatizing commission President Reagan created at their instigation. Then Koch brought onto his team the man who headed the Office of Management and Budget for Reagan, a guy notorious for having signed off on the idea that ketchup should be considered a vegetable for school lunches. You remember him? James Miller was his name, and he's now the longest-serving member of the Citizens for a Sound Economy, which these days goes by the name of Americans for Prosperity. In 2003, James Miller was rewarded with a post on the Board of Governors for the Postal Service. The Postal Service Board of Governors has 11 members, 9 of which are appointed, wait for it, by the President and confirmed by the Senate. Then they select the U.S. Postmaster General, who serves as the 10th member along with his deputy, the 11th. From his seat in 2006, James Miller pushed through the Postal Accountability and Efficiency Act, which dramatically harmed the Postal Service, requiring it to pay $5 billion per year for a number of years to fund future retiree health benefits. Now, that may sound good, but they're very different from retirement pension benefits. This was a newly conceived pool to fund the future health benefits of future retirees. No other government agency and no private business has such a requirement to fully fund decades of potential health care benefits in advance. But this, you see, for Charles Koch, was a win-win. Either it would push the Postal Service into bankruptcy so it could be privatized, or, if the service somehow managed to pay all that money, it would become more attractive to future investors as part of an initial public offering. The act also limited the service from raising the cost for a first-class stamp by about a penny a year, artificially throttling its revenue potential, and it barred the Postal Service from offering banking services or other commercial services competing with the private sector, although USPS historically had been involved in precisely such services. This whole thing was a dark, stealth, patient, long-term strategy begun way back in the 1970s. Well, it has come to fruition at last with a man named Postmaster General by Trump, Louis DeJoy. Once the finance chairman of the Republican National Convention, he has donated more than $2.5 million to the GOP. He helps finance a group trying to suppress the vote, and, together with his wife, Aldona Walsh, has invested as much as $75.3 million into companies that are competitors or contractors to the Postal Service in approximately 100 contracts since 2014 alone. Oh, by the way, Aldona Walsh, she's just been nominated by Trump to be ambassador to Canada. Meanwhile, Mitch McConnell has not just been busy packing the courts with Trump nominees. He's also been blocking appointments to this board of postal governors. For 5 years, the board lacked a quorum due to his obstruction. But when Trump became president, McConnell began filling these posts immediately, beginning with DeJoy, the first postmaster general not from within the ranks of the Postal Service. Just the opposite. Down through the years, DeJoy's businesses have been the subject of multiple complaints about sexual harassment, retaliation, forced employee donations to Republican candidates, and unsafe working conditions, and he has also been cited by the National Labor Relations Board for acting with, quote, anti-union animus, close quote. The result has been scandalous measures toward privatization, including cutbacks on basic services and on overtime, limiting the capacity of USPS to process and sort mail, allowing it to pile up and even be destroyed, removal and destruction of postal boxes, denial of service, quote, losing mail, and most of all, corrupting and even suppressing the mail-in ballot, our vote. So be extra nice to your postal carrier when next you see her. Whether she knows it or not, she's fighting for the vision of Ben Franklin and the framers. It's time for our first break, but don't go anywhere because there's a lot to come. There's our special guest, Congresswoman Carolyn Maloney, who threatened a subpoena and then made good on her word. There's Fighting Words, and before we get into any of that, there's the Surrealism Corner. Subscribe to this program on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review. Follow us on Twitter at WMC Live, like our Facebook page at facebook.com/WMC Live, and visit us at WMCLive.com for more information about our show and our guests.
You're listening to Women's Media Center Live with Robin Morgan.
No, we are not going postal. But we are about to tell weird and funny stories about the post office, all of them true. So you know we have to be in the Surrealism Corner. Not only was Ben Franklin the first Postmaster General, but the very first post office in colonial America was established in 1639 in the Boston home of a man named Richard Fairbanks, which was also a tavern that sold so-called strong water. Now, did you know that American newspapers really owe their existence to the post office? As part of the Post Office Act of 1792, newspapers, seen by the founders as essential for maintaining an educated citizenry and as an alternative to what King George III wanted the colonists to read, were permitted to be mailed at extremely low rates, that is, bulk mail. By the start of the 19th century, they made up the bulk of U.S. mail, and the growing literacy rate was attributed to the widespread availability of newspapers. The Post Office Act imposed the harshest of penalties, death on mail thieves. In 1799, stealing mail for the first-time offender was punishable by a prison sentence of up to 10 years. Second offenders were still subject to death, which remained unchanged until 1872. You see, the U.S. mail was the only official way to send money. Did you know that until the mid-19th century, recipients, not senders, usually had to pay for postage on the letters they received? Did you know that the Postal Service has no official motto? Believe it or not. The phrase, "Neither snow nor rain nor gloom of night stays these couriers from the swift completion of their appointed rounds," is engraved on the front of New York City's imposing James A. Farley post office. But the phrase was taken from the 5th century BCE writings of Herodotus and selected by an employee at the architectural firm that built the post office. Did you know that although the Pony Express did deliver mail, it was never part of the post office? And up until the Civil War, everybody had to go to the post office to get mail. In 1863, free city delivery of mail at your home was first launched in Cleveland. Joseph Briggs, a postal clerk, reportedly got the idea over the previous winter when he saw so many women waiting in long lines at the post office, which was the only way to get mail of their loved ones fighting in the war. Free city delivery was such a success, it quickly spread to other cities. This, in turn, necessitated that streets get names, houses get numbers, sidewalks and lighting be provided, and addresses get added to envelopes. Civil War veterans applied for the newly created mail carrier jobs in droves. Starting in 1825, unlabeled or mislabeled mail was sent to a central dead letter office in Washington, D.C. The postal employees hired for this job had to be honest, and because women were perceived as more honest than men, the staff overwhelmingly consisted of women, plus a few members of the clergy. Otherwise, postal clerks in the 19th century United States tended to be male. Today, more than 45% of the workforce is female. Sarah Black was the first known European-American woman appointed to carry mail in the United States in 1845. She earned an impressive $48 a year salary. The first known African-American woman, Mary Fields, called Stagecoach Mary, was born enslaved, freed after the Civil War, and settled in Montana, where she began driving a mail wagon at age 63. In 1913, Catherine Stimson became the first known woman to carry mail by airplane when she dropped mail bags from her plane at the Montana State Fair. And in 1918, she became the first woman to fly the mail on a regular airmail route. By the end of the 19th century, women managed about 10% of the country's 70,000 local post office locations. And during World War II, the number of local female postmasters increased significantly. In February 2015, Megan J. Brennan worked her way up from being a mail carrier in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, to become President Barack Obama's appointed first woman postmaster general of the entire United States and the chief executive officer of the world's largest postal organization. She protested the cutbacks once Trump took power, and she finally resigned in 2020. In came Trump's appointed corrupt fat cat, DeJoy. Oh, and one last thing. The post office not only delivers internationally, but even to a tiny island nation like Vanuatu, where an underwater post office lies 3 meters below sea level off the coast of Efate Island in the Pacific. Visitors can dive down and send or receive special waterproof materials to their loved ones. And if that seems too ho-hum ordinary, Vanuatu Post also has a mailbox next to an active volcano. Now that is surrealism for you. It's time for another quick break, but we'll return directly with my very special guest for this week, Carolyn B. Maloney, Congresswoman from New York and chair of the House Oversight Committee. When Mr. DeJoy, the erstwhile Postmaster General, testified before her committee, it was quite dramatic, and he has yet to provide any documents to Congress since that testimony, during which some members of the panel called for him to resign flat out. He didn't, but she went ahead and just subpoenaed the documents, so we'll get to hear all about that and where we go from here in rescuing our post office. It's coming right up. The Women's Media Center, founded in 2005 by Jane Fonda, Gloria Steinem, and myself, is a progressive, nonpartisan, nonprofit organization working to make women visible and powerful in media. You can learn more about the WMC at womensmediacenter.com.
You're listening to Women's Media Center Live with Robin Morgan.
My special guest for the conversation today is Representative Carolyn B. Maloney, who has served as the U.S. Representative for New York's 12th Congressional District since 2013, and previously, because of redistricting, for New York's 14th Congressional District since 1993. She has officially succeeded the late Elijah Cummings on November 20th of last year as chair of the House Oversight Committee, and she is currently the first woman to hold this position. She's got a lot of firsts. She's the first woman to represent New York's 12th Congressional District, the first woman to represent New York City's 7th Councilmanic District, where she was the first woman to give birth while in office, and she was the first woman to chair the Joint Economic Committee, a House and Senate panel that examines and addresses the nation's most pressing economic issues. Only 18 women in history have chaired congressional committees. She's quite a force majeure, and to my great delight, we welcome her because under her committee's oversight comes the post office. So here is Carolyn Maloney. Welcome, Congresswoman Maloney. Carolyn. There you sit, chairing Oversight and Reform Committee, and under your bailiwick comes the post office. And am I ever grateful that you're in oversight, given what's happening to the post office. Now, when you held hearings into the post office with Louis DeJoy, you threatened to subpoena the papers if you didn't hear anything from DeJoy. And I think they didn't believe you. They didn't know that you had a black belt in Taekwondo. From a few.
Only you would know about that.
I know about that. Damn right. And so, sure enough, you subpoenaed them. Bring us up to speed on this situation now, Carolyn.
Well, it's just an almost unbelievable situation. The Postmaster General, I don't think he should have had the job in the first place. He's a mega donor and fundraiser for President Trump and the Republican National Committee, and has held big jobs in these political organizations. The first really political Postmaster General in my lifetime that I recall. And he went on the job. Within 2 weeks, he started putting in managers' reforms, which ended up slowing down the processing of the mail.
Yeah.
Internal documents showed us that it had slowed down anywhere from 6 to 10% in major categories. Any CEO would have been fired.
That's right.
For that performance. His first 2 months of performance only slowed down and caused problems. So the speaker called an emergency meeting to bring everyone back to vote on my bill called Delivering for America, which would fund the post office with $25 billion, which is what the Board of Governors asked for, the majority of whom were appointed by President Trump. They said that was needed just to make the post office whole because of the coronavirus challenge, and also reversed his actions that slowed down the mail until after this very important election that we have coming up in November. You don't, in the middle of a pandemic, make changes that slow down the mail. People need their medications. They need their mail. They need their businesses to operate. And I'm getting reports from all over the country of slowed down mail, of blue boxes being removed.
Precisely.
He vowed that he would stop these actions and restore overtime payment and other actions. We're working for a full restoration of the damage that he's caused. But I asked him at that hearing to have the documents that I had previously asked for in a 10-page letter. It's all up on my website.
Right.
And Wednesday, he didn't produce the documents. Then I extended it till Friday. He didn't produce it, so we issued a notice, a 48-hour notice required by law that we would be issuing a subpoena. We have issued that subpoena. It went out on last Wednesday, and he has started, by Friday, he started sending documents over. So we are getting documents, and we'll see where we go from there. We are requesting more, and we are we're just trying to hold him accountable. He should be held accountable, and the Senate must pass the Delivering for America Act to stop the administration, the Trump administration's campaign to really sabotage the Postal Service. The president went on national television and said, I don't want to fund the Postal Service because I don't want mail-in ballots. I mean, it was astonishing admission on his part.
Stunning.
Well, many people, 12 states have mail-in ballots, and many states like New York, my home state, has said that because of the coronavirus, everything is an emergency, and you can vote by absentee ballot. And a lot of states are following that. Many people believe that we may have as many as 75% of our voters voting absentee because of the coronavirus. So it's very important that the post office be there to serve people and to actually get the job done.
Oh, it's crucial. You have also subpoenaed or requested documents from Robert Duncan, the chair of the Postal Service Board of Governors, who also runs a Republican super PAC.
He runs two of them, Robin.
Oh,
Not
two?
One,
Oh, how
two.
charming.
And then he left our hearing and went to the Republican National Committee. So it's really the they are politicizing the post office. And so I have a bill in to remove politics from the post office, saying that for 4 years prior you can't hold positions in a major party or any party.
That would be sensible. That would be very sensible. This Duncan subpoena or request includes any communications between board members, which is appointed by the White House, and the White House, and between board members and DeJoy. I mean, it is amazing that he is sitting there and still in control.
Well, I don't think he should have been appointed in the first place.
No,
he's not qualified.
No, and he's the only.
I know that he's also under an inspector general investigation. This is a nonpartisan appointee that looks at corruption, conflicts of interest, because of his financial dealings, which have come out with the post office.
There was a story in the Washington Post and in the New York Times a day or so ago, in fact, pointing out that 5 people who worked for his former business, New Breed Logistics, said that they were urged by him or his direct aides to write checks and attend fundraisers at his 15,000 square foot gated mansion in North Carolina, where events cost more than $100,000 each, and then they were reimbursed, which I understand is a criminal offense.
Yeah, that is a criminal offense. That's manipulating an election and skirting the laws. We have limitations on how much money a person can contribute, and we need to find out about that too. So we need to not only get the documents that we need now, but we need to call in these employees and find out exactly what happened, and we have to make that happen also.
Is there time, do you think, before the elections to clarify this post office thing? It doesn't seem that there is much time.
Well, we're going back into session. I'm going to be back up there for a hearing on the census. That's another challenge.
Yes, indeed.
On Thursday, and we are going to be voting the next week, and hopefully we will press this point even more. I hope we'll be able to pass our bill on conflicts of interest, but the funding bill and the Delivering for America bill that would save the post office, basically, is now in the Senate. So everyone should call their senators and ask them to act on it. Now, the post office is an issue that affects everybody. It's one of our founding institutions. It's a pillar of our democracy. It's enshrined in our Constitution. It's always been there to help.
Ben Franklin was the first postmaster.
Yes, I know. Is that great?
It's so fabulous.
And then they decide to dismantle it right in the middle of a pandemic and right before a important election. And we know that the veterans and seniors, so many people depend on it for delivering their medications, their checks.
It has a 93% approval rating from the American public.
So
I mean,
we all depend upon it. It's one of the institutions that binds us together as a country and gives support to us. And I think people are stressed anyway with this pandemic. You don't want to also stress them more by cutting the services that they're used to getting from the post office. At least he said he won't continue with his bad actions, but there's something called a sorting machine. And I've been to post offices in my district, to the sorting post office, to see it. It's a phenomenal machine. It can sort 30,000 pieces of mail in an hour into what address they're going, what zip code address. And if you had people to do that, it would be, days longer too. So why in the world was he dismantling the processing machinery?
And he didn't restore that. That he's not.
No, he hasn't restored that. And we need to get that taken care of also. And I may do legislation, but certainly a letter. And why he has not restored that. In some cases, he's just unplugged it, or they have put it in storage in closets. Bring it back out and put it to work. It's setting us up for failure. We know we're going to probably have more people voting by mail than ever in the history of our country.
That's right.
And so the post office needs the ability to have overtime for workers to process it, and you certainly need the processing machines there.
And the sorting
Another thing
machines.
he did is he stopped the trucks from picking up the mail and moving it to the delivery post to only one stop a day. Now you do it as many times as possible to move the mail to where it's supposed to go.
Yeah.
And we're getting reports in New York that mail is 5 to 6 days late. In Virginia, they told me something like they mailed a letter that went 3 blocks. It took it 13 days to get there. So it's a problem that's not just in my home state. It's a problem across the country. This is really a bipartisan issue because a lot of the rural districts in America are represented by Republicans.
Yes.
And they're more dependent on the mail than anyone else.
Totally.
You know, in urban areas, there are competitors. There's FedEx and other organizations that can compete. But if you're in a rural area, the cost of getting your mail would probably go up dramatically.
That's right.
So Republicans should be supporting the Delivering for America Act, and I hope they will.
I hope they will, too.
It should be a bipartisan issue.
I want to squeeze in, if we possibly can, because I know that there's a Senate bill pending, and I know that you're concerned about this, the question of the ERA and a women's presence on the mall. Take it away.
Well, you know that one of my goals is to finally ratify the Equal Rights Amendment, and I'm having a difficult time doing it.
Yeah.
And I really think that it's impossible to empower women if you don't even recognize them. And there is not a women's museum on the mall, which speaks to the history of America. This is half the population. So I put in a bill years ago, and it passed the House this session with over 400 votes, madly, unbelievably strong support from both sides of the aisle. It's now in the Senate with the lead sponsor, Dianne Feinstein, and Senator Collins from Maine, and we need to get it through the Senate.
And that's Senate Bill F.
It's 2020. It's 100 years since women got the right to vote. We deserve at least one museum that's dedicated to the achievements of half the population.
You think? It's Senate...
We shouldn't be asking where are the women on the U.S. Mall, right?
Senate Bill F959. People should write to their senators and get this moving. And I want to thank you for everything that you've done for American women and our citizens who are female, whether it's sex trafficking and heading those committees, whether it's mammogram in the
Affordable Care Act,
Yes, the Affordable Care Act. All that you've done and continue to do for women, it's deeply appreciated, Carolyn. You go, girl.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you so much.
And
it was
good
an honor
luck.
to be on your show. And Robin, it would be remiss if I didn't mention the great leadership of you and Gloria Steinman and Jane Fonda in creating the Women's Media Center, which really made more focus on the issues that are of concern to half the population.
Well, right back at you. And you go, girl, about that post office. You get them. All right?
All right. We're on the case.
Time for our last break, and then I'll be right back with some fighting words.
For the smartest talk about news, politics, sex, books, religion, race, and more, it's Women's Media Center Live with Robin Morgan. Audacious, witty, provocative, informative, and fun. It's Women's Media Center Live with Robin Morgan. Talk radio with a brain.
The founders of this country, the framers of the Constitution, their words stand the test of time as fighting words. Your postal carrier will likely know whether someone on their route is pregnant, getting married, or suffered a death in the family, all because of what comes through the mail. She will also keep track of who has not received mail recently, and this has saved many lives, especially older people who are ill and living alone. Everything from Social Security checks and child care checks to life-necessary prescription drugs arrives through the mail, as do packages eagerly awaited by the military all around the world. The Veterans Affairs Department delivers about 80% of its outpatient prescriptions by mail. And that's not even to mention the importance of mail to rural delivery and remote areas and shut-ins. Currently, 12 states vote completely or almost completely by mail, without a hitch, and more are coming on board every day. Postal Service carriers may have been slowed by the coronavirus pandemic, but they continued as essential workers throughout it. Not surprisingly, 91% of Americans are strong supporters of the Postal Service. Makes you wonder about the other 9%. So why is the USPS being destroyed before our very eyes? Is it just another even more audacious erosion of our democratic government, like the Treasury Department, Health and Human Services, the CDC, HUD, Labor, Veterans Affairs, FEMA, Environmental Protection, Homeland Security, and the FBI and NSA and all the rest? Even the State Department? The Justice Department itself? Watch for the national parks to vanish next. But this one, the Postal Service, interestingly, is a perfect storm. It conflates with the pandemic. So people are being told to choose between voting, our political life, and life itself. Americans who are Black or Native or Latinx or Asian Pacific Islanders, they have long known voter suppression firsthand. So, to be candid, do the elderly, the disabled, the poor, felons, and the homeless. Now everybody's getting to find out. For many decades, starting with the 1965 Voting Rights Act, the trend in this country was to make it easier, not harder, for Americans to vote by expanding voting hours, the number of polling sites, and the availability of voting by mail. Over the last decade, a carefully fostered, big-money opposition has created, in effect, the diametrical opposite of what the framers intended: minority rule. It's brazenly evident in two statements. The first, by arch-conservative Paul Weyrich, founder of the Heritage Foundation, who said flat out, quote, "I don't want everybody to vote. Elections are not won by a majority of the people. They never have been from the beginning of our country, and they are not now. As a matter of fact, our," right wing, "leverage in the elections quite candidly goes up as the voting populace goes down." Close quote. The second quotation is Donald Trump himself, admitting that he refuses to back funding so that the post office can get back up and running now because, quote, "if we don't make a deal, that means they don't get the money, and that means they can't have universal mail-in voting. They just can't have it." Period. Close quote. Well, for this moment we still can have it. The vote, that is. For this moment, possibly the last moment available to us, we can rise to the vision of the founders, which was, remember, to bind the nation together and facilitate citizen inclusion. It was that first Postmaster General, Ben Franklin, who, you may recall, when asked what kind of government this new country would now have, wryly responded, "We have given you a republic, if you can keep it." Those are my fighting words. Add yours on Twitter, and remember to tag us at WMC Live and use the hashtag Fighting Words. And that's our show for this week. You can follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and now Instagram at The Robin Morgan, and you can check out my blog at robinmorgan.net and find my latest book of poems, Dark Matter, and my brand new novel, Parallax, wherever books are sold. Opinions expressed on this program do not necessarily represent the Women's Media Center. Here's the family for Women's Media Center Live. Executive producer as well as founding and sustaining sponsor, Regina K. Scully. WMC president and co-executive producer of this program, Julie Burton. I'm Robin Morgan, your producer and host. Thank you for being with us. Join us again next time on Women's Media Center Live.